Students, you've been working on your mugs, you've been sanding, and they should be really smooth on the outside and in the inside. It should just feel exactly the way you want it to. This is the last time we need to make changes. So if you need to get rid of anything, it doesn't feel right in your hand, you need to sand it out. Once you are done with sanding, what you're gonna do is get your mug, and then you're gonna come over here. And right here we have all these brushes, and these brushes, if we pull one out here, it says ceramic dry brush. So what you're gonna do is grab one of those, and you might have to share with someone. Then you're gonna come over to our trusty, handy dandy garbage can. And what you're gonna do is take your mug and brush it away. We want all the clay dust off of this, and it's easier to do it into the garbage can. I can do it a little bit lower so that it's not getting into the air. So I want to go in everywhere. Just get as much of that dust off of this, because you don't want that dust mixing with your glaze, because after there is a dust on here, it will separate and you won't have things glazed properly. So we are just going to dust. Once your dusting is done, you can take the brush and put it back in here. Then the next thing you want to do is grab one of these mats. Now these mats are different than those mats. These are just for clay. This is for the clay and the sanding and all that stuff. We want to keep those there. If you're glazing, you want to use these mats. And it looks sort of like this, where there's been some glaze put on it. So you'll just grab one of these mats, and then you'll take it to your place. And I'm just going to work over here today. So I'll put this down, put my mug on top of it. And then I'm going to start thinking about what colors I want to make this. And then we're going to come over and get some colors. Now, here are our colors. We have them here. And we don't have a lot of colors. We have certain colors. We have, starting on the left side, lilac. And it says lilac right here. And it tells you it's light purple. And then it says it on the cap. And then when you pick it up, it says it underneath. The next is red, candy apple, which is a bright red. Then we have blush, which is sort of like a pink. Then we have a sherbet, which is like a light orange. We have a lemon, that's a yellow. We have a Granny Smith, which is like a yellow green. Then we have seafoam, which is a light green. And then lagoon, which is a dark green. And so they all have it on the cap, what that is. So we want the cap to match the container. And then we want to put them back where they're supposed to be. Also, students, we have brushes over here. These are specific for ceramic. And if you look at them, we have some big brushes here, and then we have some smaller brushes here. Grab the brush that you need for the size. If you're going to grab one of these brushes, make sure it's clean. And if you look here, these aren't clean. So the way to clean them is to take them over here and just wash them out. Now, it's really important that you have a clean brush before you start, because if it has glaze in it, old glaze, that glaze is going to mix with what you're now painting, and it might come up with a color that you do not want. So it's important to have a clean brush. So I'm going to have my clean brush here. I have a mat, I have my mug. Then I'm going to come over here and get the color. Now, we don't have enough color for everybody to have their own, so you might have to share with people. And so you're going to pick the color that you want. I'm going to start with a seafoam. So I'm going to grab the seafoam and bring it to my table and set it right there. I'm going to be using this. If someone who wants to use it as well, they could come sit next to me and use this. But we're not going to have 5 people around. If you need the seafoam, you're going to have to wait maybe, and that's okay. Now with glazing and any brush, we need paper towels so we can clean off our brush as we go. So I'm pretty set up. What I have here is my glaze, and what glaze is glass, a little bit of clay, pigment, and water all mixed together. And when it sits for a long time, it separates. And the glass is the heavy thing, and it sits down here. And then the clay is the next heavy thing. which sits down like right around here. And then the pigment sits on top, and then the water. And what we want is all that mixed together. So what I'm gonna do is open it up, like so. Then I'm gonna take my brush, and I'm gonna just use the handle and put the handle in and stir it. Some people wanna shake it, but that's not gonna get the stuff off the bottom. And so having that handle all the way to the bottom and stir the other way will help mix that up. You can pull it up and stir really good because we want it to be mixed up so it adheres to your ceramic vase. Once you're done with that, you can pull your paintbrush out, and you can take your paper towel and just clean it off into the bin and wipe it clean. And now I'm ready to use this. When you're glazing, you don't want to glaze the outside first or the bottom. You want to start on the inside first and work your way out. And so I'm going to use this big mug because there's not a lot of details in here. And so I'm just going to put this right in there. And now I have some glaze on my brush, and I'm just going to paint all the way in my mug. And I want to coat it pretty well. Now, it's not going to look like it does when it's finished. When it looks like when it's finished, it's going to be completely different. And so, when you put it on, you can just brush it on, and it will go everywhere. And if it's not, like this is looking a little thin, I don't know if you can see that. Like that's not looking as green. So I might need to mix it up again. And if that's the case, I don't want to do this where I'm mixing it with the brush. That's not what we want. We don't want glaze all over the metal part. So what I would do is just clean off my brush like I would by pinching and pulling. Once it's clean, just put my handle back in and stir it up. Try to mix it up a little bit more. If I need another paper towel, I can. I'll just wipe this into the bottle. Clean off my handle. There we go. Now I can take this, and you can see that I have a little bit of brown of the bristles because I don't want to go to the metal part. That just makes the brush not work as well. And now when I'm putting it on, it's actually got some color there. So I'm going to paint the whole inside now that it's mixed up pretty well. And if you get some drops on yours, that's okay. We can wipe it up. But we don't necessarily want it to look like this, because then that's just more cleaning up that we have to do later. So just be neat about it. I'm trying to make this a nice even coat all the way around. So one side's not brighter than the other. If there's any pockets or dips in here, I want to put that on there. And I want that color to show. So I'm putting on pretty heavy coat so that that color is showing up. It's not going to be super bright because glaze has that, it needs heat to cause that chemical reaction where it becomes shiny like glass. So I'm just going to glaze everything. And now we need to glaze everything. If you see in here, I have a pocket right there that's not glazed. If I fired this and this is not glazed, I couldn't actually use it to drink out of. This glaze is what makes it safe to drink out of. And so the inside coat is very important that you get everything put on there nice and neatly and cover all the little crooks and nooks and crannies so that it all gets covered, and when it fires, there's not one spot missing. So you really need to be eagle eyes about this and get that all done. Now let's say right here on my lip of my mouth, there is some glaze there, and I don't want it there. What I can do is you just get a paper towel a little bit wet, or take my paper towel, and I can wipe that off. So glaze can be erased, it just needs a wet paper towel, and you can sort of keep things neat. So I have this seafoam inside color, and it's going to dry. Now I'm done with my seafoam. And if you have any, let's like this, there's a hair in here from the brush. I'm just gonna try to get that hair out because I don't want it to be permanently in there. Nobody wants a cup with a permanent hair attached. So if a brush bristle gets stuck in there, to clean it out. Okay, so the inside's done. I'm done with seafoam. I'm gonna put this back. I'm gonna take it, put it in the one that's missing seafoam, put it right there, put it with the label out so people can see it. Then what I'm gonna do is get my next color. And so I'm gonna try Candy Apple Red. It's here. Take it back to my spot. Now, part I want to paint red is gonna be the heart. And if I'm painting that heart red with a big brush, I might not get it as neat as I want. So what I'm gonna do with this brush is take it back here and rinse it out and make it clean for the next person so they don't have any of that color that I was just using in it. Once I pick a towel, I can dry it off so there's no water in there. And I can take this and put it back here for the next person to use. It's a nice clean brush. And then I'll get a smaller brush that's more appropriate for the thing I'm painting. And so this brush looks like it's good. I'm going to clean it out just because I don't know who used it last. And I want to be safe, not sorry. So there it is, cleaned out. I'll bring it back over here. And then I'm going to dry off my brush. I'm going to clean off the handle. And then I'll open this up. And just like the other glaze, this has been separated. And so we need to stir it. And now glaze doesn't, I didn't mention this earlier, and this one's a little bit more potent. It smells, and it smells gross. Think of like, I don't know, baby food and farts. Maybe that's it. It's not a great smell. So I'm gonna stir this up. Clean off my handle. If you need more paper towels, you've got them. Okay. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna glaze my heart. So I have the appropriate brush, it's cleaned off. I have the glaze, it's all stirred up. I'm going to get a little bit of glaze on my brush and paint it where I want it. Now this is looking pretty good. It's a little bit thin. And so if it's thin like this, what you can do is let it dry. And if it's thin like this, it might dry a little bit lighter and then be a lighter look to it. And you can go back, and once it's dried, and add another layer. It doesn't take long for it to dry, enough to add another layer. And then it becomes a little bit more fuller in color. You don't want to do too many layers because if you do too many layers, it'll start sliding down. So I'd say 1 to 2 layers is usually good. And so now that's up. I don't know if I want to do the sides or not. If I want to do the sides, well then I would just paint the sides of that and make it look like a thing that was popping up. And I could use another color if I wanted to for the sides, that's okay. I might let it dry a little bit before I turn it so there's no drips. So I might have to wait a moment for it to dry. Once it's dry, I can go and paint the top. And I can share this with someone, the color, if they need it. I can pull up a glaze thing right with me. I'm trying to be controlled with this and neat. so I don't have to clean up too much. Now, you might have to clean up something. That's okay. You can just take a wet paper towel and wipe it away. So, there we go. Now I have a heart that has been painted. I'm not in love with a lot of my heart. There's some areas that's bleeding over and I don't necessarily want it there. So I just take my paper towel, try to wipe it away. I might let it dry for a little bit, but I can take off. Some you can see me erasing it here. You can always get more paper towel and erase it. So this is where it takes some creativity, making the design the way you want it to be. You're gonna let it dry. Once you have it all painted, the whole thing's painted except the bottom. We do not want this bottom to be painted, so we don't put that on there. We're gonna think about like stopping like a finger's space maybe, so that there's some room at the bottom so that the glaze doesn't go over. So if I was, hold on, let's just do this. I like the heart, I like where it is. I'm gonna paint something on the bottom here, okay? So what I'm gonna do, put this glaze away. I'm gonna be done with this glaze. Let's go with the sherbet. Sherbet here. I'm gonna go wash out my brush because I was just using it for the red. So some walking over here. Clean out. All right, students, let's say I wanna put an orange band around the bottom here. I have sherbet, open it up. I'm going to stir it. Ooh, my clean brush. Handle. I get most of that going back into there as I can. Clean off my brush handle. Then I'm gonna take my sherbet, make sure it's on the mat. I'm gonna paint an orange band around the bottom here. So here it is, orange band. And I'm getting kind of close to the bottom. I don't want it to be that close. If that's the case and it gets too low, all you have to do is take your paper towel and wipe it off. Just wipe it off. You can take a wet paper towel and wipe it off too. That'll help. But we want some space there between the mug and the bottom of the mug. So I'm putting an orange band around here, all the way around. I'm being careful to not get it on the bottom. Now let's say a mistake happens and I get it on the bottom. Oh no! Well, what I can do is get some water on my paper towel, take the wet paper towel and wipe off the glaze. We don't want any glaze on the bottom of our mug because it will stick to the kiln shelf and then I'll have to break it off. So then you let it dry and let it set up. So students, if you get like, let's say a drip of this going down the side of the thing, just wipe it up. Make it nice and neat to keep it clean. Put the lids back on nice and tight. Take that back to where it goes, put it in the correct spot so the next person can use it. Let's say I say it's time to clean up. You still have a lot more to work on. Well, what you're gonna do is just take this mug that you're creating and put it in your B-bin, whatever table you're at. Then you can pick it up and work on it tomorrow. Then you'll come over here to your spot. You'll grab your brush, like so. Take it over here. Rinse it real quick. Take it back to your seat. Get a clean part of your paper towel, like so. Pinch, pull, pinch, pull, pinch, pull. Take this and put it back in the correct bin. This is a small one, so it goes there. Then we're gonna come here and grab your mat. Your mat you can pick up. And then we're gonna put our mats no, not there. Over here. So we'll put it back over here, nice and neat. Make sure that they're stacked nice and neat, nothing's akimbo or crazy. Then what we're gonna do is come back to our seats. And this time, I got glaze on the table. Mr. Matthews, how did that happen? Ah! So if that's the case, what you do before we spray down is you're gonna take your paper towel and wipe the glaze off the table so that you're not spreading it around the table. Then, it is the same thing we always do. Spray down our table with our sprayer. Grab your scrubber, like so. Scrub down the area. Once you have it scrubbed down, what you're gonna do is go get some paper towel and dry it really good so that the white dust of the clay is actually being picked up by the paper towel. Switch my paper towel to a dry side. So I'm really scrubbing that dust off the table. I'll take this, put it into the garbage. I will grab my chair, put it up. Glaze station should look like this at the end of the day. Everything where it's supposed to be, nice and neat. Our clay stuff should look like this, and our classroom should look like this. So, you do a great job. Keep doing it.